world? Or
No. I remember this was the largest grow I ever went into. Were you on this grow link up on Palomar? So, brief for this. Hey, it's a big grow. We meet at a neutral site. We pile into a, you know, pack deep bodies into like 3 trucks. We drive up to the top of Mount Palomar, up near the observatory up there. And it's like pre-dawn, you know, whatever, 4:30 in the morning. We got to freaking get into this grow. So Steve has this spot because we didn't have necessarily this luxury. Seemed to be more the exception than rule, where they could identify an actual a route in and out of a grow.
Mhm.
We tended more to basically break brush, and that's what made it so nasty.
Yeah.
Thick vegetation, and you are just, trying to get in there. You're trying to not only get in there but not make noise, because if there's bodies in there, you want to have the element of surprise and maybe bag a body or two, right? Not just end up with plants.
Yeah.
So we had to come down the mountain, and we came down basically I don't know if it was a creek bed, but it definitely indicated there had been traffic on this. And it was so steep that you couldn't help but slide a portion of the way as we're coming in. And, rocks are getting kicked up, and, we're trying to keep the noise down. And we finally come into this grow. And the first thing that came to mind was looking down. I'm sure it was a spring-fed creek, and they had pooled the water, and were just dumping bags of chemical fertilizer into this natural stream bed for their plant fertilization. So it's getting 100% contaminated, polluted for plant, wildlife, and everything else in
Yeah, so
between.
talk about that a little bit, Derek, because most people will just think, it's marijuana. And then they also don't realize 99% of all the marijuana ERAD that we're doing, DEA is doing, is all on public lands. It's either BLM land, U.S. Forest Service land,
County.
everything,
Yeah.
right? But talk about the environmental impact that those marijuana growers are having, because you're talking about exactly what they're dealing with now is all these chemicals are getting dumped in the water, and now it's the groundwater starting to test positive for this crap.
I just remember I'm a nature guy,
Yeah.
and just looking at that and just hit me, God, this is just so wrong.
Yeah.
So wrong. Like zero regard for, for nature, and for anything and everything else. No regard.
Yeah, because I'm sure you're seeing the same thing that we were seeing in Idaho and Washington, which is you're going into these places and these guys are living there for months, and you're seeing piles of freaking trash and all.
Just remember something. Supplies come in, nothing leaves. The only thing that leaves is the weed,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
They're not humping that out.
Yep.
And it just turns into a dump site.
Yeah. So you got the garbage, you have the propane tanks, you have the plastic tubing, you have everything that gets left up there. And so when
And
people
and it was unfortunate that I think possibly in other parts of the country, maybe Forest Service or maybe Fish and Game, whoever, um, I've heard that they were more involved in actually cleaning up sites.
Mhm.
We would occasionally net out stuff
Mhm.
when we're, at the end after we slung all our dope out.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd net up spot, but it never was everything.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
It was more of a small percentage what came out than what was physically there.
Oh. Hmm.
So I remember walking into this grow and looking, and because it was Mount Palomar, it was more forested. Was not so much of this low canopy. And I remember looking around to a sea of lime green, and I'm like, this looks like frickin' Vietnam. It was beautiful, beautiful, just a sea of lime green.
Yeah.
So Steve says, we're going to lay in and see if anything pops up. So he selects me and another guy, Mark DeVito, and he puts us where there's this defined trailhead coming up, and it's coming from a low point up over a knoll into this one grow area. So we lay in, and we're laying in, and everybody's actually spread out and back behind us. And I remember laying there, and I had taken my eyes off for like it seemed like a split second, and my eyes came back, and I'm like looking straight, and I'm proned out, but it's like you see this guy, this Mexican, and he's looking at me like just dead, and he's frozen, and nobody's saying anything, nobody's doing anything, and all of a sudden he goes, and freaking all you hear is he is running, literally busting brush, boulders rolling, branches breaking, and he's 100 miles an hour. I'm out of here, right?
Yeah.
And
Did you catch him?
no,
No. No, because those guys are living up there. They're fantastic.
you're not doing what
Yeah.
he's doing.
Yeah.
You're sacrificing all form of safety at that point.
Exactly.
And his buddy must have heard him, because his buddy split at the same. You just hear the roar through the forest,
Yeah.
right? So that grow, Steve estimated that there was about 100,000 plants,
Now, that's a good one.
and it took us 2 full days, because what would happen is we would clear an area that was planted, and all of a sudden you go down a trail for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, boom, you're into another pocket.
Yep.
And then down a trail, and boom, you're into another pocket. And then it went from this is beautiful to this is never going to end.
Yeah.
Never going to end.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest grow I think I ever was in.